The session is titled Iconic Asphalt, and we're going to be in discussion with 3 top-tier regional racetracks from the Americas, Europe, and the Middle East. These are, of course, Laguna Seca, Yas Marina, and Portimao, or more officially, Autodromo International Algarve. So I welcome our speakers today. We have Barry Tepke, the Director of Events and Public Relations at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. How are you doing, Barry?
Fantastic, and thank you for having us.
Absolutely welcome. I also welcome Saif Al Noaimi, the Deputy CEO at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. Thank you for joining us, Saif.
Great to be with you, Peter.
And last but certainly not least, we welcome Paulo Pinheiro, who is the CEO at the Autodromo International Algarve, or Portimao. Thanks for joining us as well, Paulo.
It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Now I'm personally taking the reins of this session as moderator, so I'm afraid you are stuck with me for the next hour, gentlemen, so apologies in advance. But it's good to dive into these questions, really about the unique nature of racetracks and the importance that they play in motorsport and really the future. So it's very broad, but I think it's a really good opportunity to have 3 different perspectives from different parts of the world involved in top-level motorsport. So Barry, I'm actually going to start with you on this question, if you don't mind. What do you think makes Laguna Seca so iconic and so unique in its design and its appeal?
Well, certainly, we go back to 1957 when it was initially built in just a 3-month period of time on Army property to host the Pebble Beach road races, the very first one in '57 after it ran in the forest. So there's this history of iconic cars, legendary drivers who have been here for so many years. And obviously the signature turn that we have is the corkscrew, which is world renowned. There's been some history there with IndyCar and certainly with Valentino Rossi in MotoGP. So we have this spirit of people, the Dan Gurneys, the Sterling Mosses, who have driven or have ridden here. And I think that permeates into what we do currently. We're also in a destination, Monterey, Carmel by the Sea, Pebble Beach. We're only 10 minutes away from all these different areas. So it's not only just motorsports, it's about bringing people out for an experience. And that's one thing that we're really working on right now is the evolution of motorsports and providing those family experiences.
Absolutely. I think most of us can agree that all 3 of you are from beautiful locations in the world, close to the coast. You've got a lot going for you geographically before we even start talking about the circuits. But coming to you, Saif, on this, if you don't mind, how was Yas Marina conceived as a racetrack initially, and bringing it up to date and today? Why is it undergoing such an evolution at the moment?
So I think it's important, Peter, to talk about not just the circuit at the start. So when leadership of Abu Dhabi was looking at building a racetrack back in 2006, 2007, the vision was not only to build a track, but to build a fully integrated destination. And that's Yas Island. So it was a clean, a blank canvas, essentially. And the strategy was to build an iconic destination that is fully integrated, and it includes obviously the racetrack, and it includes a marina, it includes various hotels, and then as the years went by, Yas Island continued to grow and develop, and today we have several theme parks such as Ferrari World, Warner Brother World, and Yas Water World, and we have some exciting other projects. So the whole island was essentially built from the ground up to become a destination that's fully integrated, where you're able to attend and walk from one asset to the other. Everything is nearby. Everything's within 10 minutes of the airport, and you're able to do everything within the island. So it was built from the ground up to be that, and to be effectively an ideal place for large public events to take place. Now, the second part of your question, why are we going through a transformation? We felt it's an important time for us, having concluded 12 successful Etihad Airways Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We wanted to look at an evolution of the racetrack, look at ways in which we can enhance the on-track racing and the excitement for the drivers and for the fans. And you know, as you know, we're currently going through the first real changes to the track since it was initially built. And essentially, it's taking feedback from the drivers, the teams, but most importantly from the fans and the spectators, and trying to address some of their feedback. And you know, we're really excited to have the new track ready ahead of this year's Grand Prix, and we're hoping for some close wheel-to-wheel racing, and also hoping for a championship decider.
Wonderful. Quite a short turnaround then in getting such a big development and evolution of the track ready for this season. So yeah, that's kudos to you guys for sure. And Paolo, I'm going to come to you on a similar question, because in the last 2 years, Formula One, MotoGP, you know, the return of the World Endurance Championship also taking place at Portimao this year in June. You know, what has the appeal been in bringing all of these stakeholders and rights holders sort of back to your track?
I think that the racetrack is unique in terms of the layout and the exciting for the drivers and the public. And this played a major role in the fact that the championships decided to come here last year. And after that, the drivers and the teams and everyone enjoyed so much that they decided to continue. So I think this was a major turning point for us, because until then, and our circuit was 10 years old, Superbikes, LMS, and all the good series knew the racetrack, being from testing, even Formula One and MotoGP, but they never raced here. And I think this was definitely the turning point for us. And this allowed us, the world, to get to know our racetrack. And as you know, our complex, we have a racetrack, we have a go-kart racetrack, we have an hotel, apartment, so it's an off-road park, so it's also an integrated complex. We are nearby the beach. It's the Algarve, it's a tourist region, I think well known all over the world. And the fact that for the first time in 10 years, everyone knows our racetrack has changed dramatically the type of clients that we have. Not the manufacturers and the racing teams, because those were coming here already since the beginning, but in terms of the general public, this changed dramatically the perception of the public all over the world. And our racing school, for you to have an idea, has increased 300%. Just this summer, the number of people that has driven our racing cars. So has changed a lot the perception of the racetrack in terms of everyone. Journalists, teams, public, spectators, has been very, very good for us.
Absolutely. And I guess that this question is really one that I've come up with, but I think it sort of links more to the geography of where you each race. All of your locations, your destinations, are tourist holidays, tourist destinations for various reasons. And how much do you see that plays into the appeal of the circuit, not just for hosting an individual motorsport race, but for year-round activity, events, all of the more external stuff? So I'm focusing very strictly on where you are in the world. So Paolo, I'm actually going to come back to you first on this. For, you know, certainly as a Brit, we love to come to Portugal, as I'm sure you're aware, and it's relatively close for us. But you are situated in a very strong part of Europe for, you know, year-round activity, and how much influence does that have?
It does a lot, because the Algarve, that is by nature a touristic region, we have a lot of hotels, of restaurants, of infrastructures. So if you come here for a manufacturer event, for a car presentation, for a journalist event, whatever, you always have activities to do besides the driving activity at the racetrack, which is normally 1 or 2 days per group. So I think it's crucial for a manufacturer to have a location like us or Laguna Seca or Yas Marina, that you have other things to do besides what you do on a racetrack, because it's crucial. It's not, it's like all of us have been saying, it's not just about going around the racetrack and driving hours and hours. It's much more than that. Also, obviously, the racetrack itself and its infrastructure, it's important. It's very important. The level and the quality of the racetrack, it's crucial. But I think it's very, very important where we are, the location of the racetrack, and everything else around it. Because otherwise, it's not appealing for a manufacturer to bring journalists from all over the world to a place that it's not nice to see. It's not nice to go out for dinner at night. It's further away from the airport, all that. So I think that the location plays a major role in terms of the decision to where to go. Sometimes in our specific case, if you are in center of Europe, and you have to drive your truck to test or this, that. It's not the best, but if you are a manufacturer, I think our location, it's one of our key advantages over other segments.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry, I'm going to come to you on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's the destination that is selling what we do. We have the wine tasting rooms, we have the wineries, we have the Carmel by the Sea, we have the world-class golf. We're a small market. We have a very regional airport, but we're only 90 minutes away from San Jose and from San Francisco. So a lot of the international visitors can get here very easily. But 100%, it's about those experiences for the spouses, for the sponsors, the teams that really sell what Laguna Seca is all about, as well other tracks. It's very important. We hear that from sponsors all the time. We just finished one event with Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion. They hosted journalists that put them up in the nice hotels, took care of them. It really is the entertainment and the experience that a destination can provide.
Absolutely. And Saif, your facility is within Abu Dhabi, is within a major city, one of the two major cities of the country. So you're in a beautiful part of the world as well. You're on the sea. Tell me about that, the appeal of that in relation to everything you're doing.
Absolutely, it's extremely important. I mean, we rely heavily on international tourism for not only for the Grand Prix but year round our activity. And like you said, Peter, it's I talked a little bit about Yas Island as a destination, but yes, there's a bigger destination. There's Abu Dhabi. There's the cultural sites in Abu Dhabi, such as the Louvre Museum. You have the beach. You have all of these different activities. So it's really important to be able to cater to an entire family, not just one or two people in that family, whether it's for the kids or the adults, whether it's someone who likes adrenaline and wants to be at the racetrack, or someone who wants a relaxing vacation or a theme park adventure. There's quite a lot to offer, both on Yas Island and Abu Dhabi. And I think we all experienced a challenge in the last 18 months with international tourism and travel, and we've all had to adapt to more domestic tourism and staycations and cater our venue and our products to a different market, which has been an interesting experience. But we're all looking forward to international markets opening up, travel opening up, and being able to have people come and visit us very soon.
Absolutely, completely agree. The world's obviously gone through a very torrid time the last 2 years or so, and travel corridors opening up and tourism improving is a massive part of coming out the other side of that tunnel. And from a venues perspective, I'm going to pull this back again, looking and focusing directly at the facilities that you guys run. What would you say are the key ingredients in delivering a successful and exciting racing event? So Saif, if you don't mind, I'm actually going to come straight back to you on that, certainly because of what you're doing at the moment and your events coming up towards the end of this year. What are those key ingredients in delivering an exciting Formula One or otherwise event at the track?
Well, I think fundamentally you need an exciting track, a great venue that people will enjoy in person or whether they're watching on TV or streaming the event. So it's having that excitement, that action-packed race, on-track action. But for us, it's not only about on-track action, because that's several minutes or hours of the entire weekend. It's important to be able to give our guests a full experience, and that includes off-track entertainment. And so for us, it's important to have a diverse offering in the venue, in Yas Marina Circuit, in the fan zones, whether it's entertainment, whether it's food and beverage offerings, but also important to offer them large-scale entertainment. And what we've done for the last many years is an after-race concert after each night of the weekend, where every ticket holder for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix can walk to the Etihad Park, which is an open-air arena right next to the racetrack, and they're able to enjoy a live concert. And we have the latest AAA artists usually performing over the weekend. So it's having that entertainment offering, but also, again, going back to what I talked about earlier with Yas Island, we're fortunate to be able to offer a parks pass for our ticket holders. So effectively, ticket holder can come and spend the weekend at Yas Marina Circuit and spend the evenings at the concert, but they're also that entire week for a few days before the weekend and after the weekend, they're able to go and visit any of the theme parks on Yas Island. So it's really important for us to provide that diverse on-track, off-track offering for our guests.
Absolutely. And American sport, not just American motorsport, is known for creating entertainment from start to finish. I've been to a few different US sports, and I very much felt that vibe. Every minute something was going on, something was happening, which hasn't always been the case in here in Europe. So Barry, to you on that, when you have your big events at your racetrack, from when people arrive, maybe even from the start of the earliest days to the very end, how are you engaging and getting those key ingredients for an exciting event?
We have to think about, yes, we're a race circuit, but as everyone we're hearing is that, we compete against the modern day baseball stadiums, the modern day football stadiums, and no longer do they just play a game. There is fan activities throughout. There's the robust Wi-Fi, things of that sort that are the expectations now of guests coming into a facility. And when you look at our facility, which was built in '57, and it's a County of Monterey owned facility, we've had to, it's a slower process in upgrading. But we have to entertain. We have to bring in the guests. We have the food and wine courts. We brought a Ferris wheel in, really to engage and to grow the sport. We get the motorsports fanatics. We get the enthusiasts. But to grow the sport, you have to experience it. So we're reaching out heavily into the community, into the San Francisco, San Jose markets, Southern California, Central Valley, to bring people in to get that experience. They're not a motorsports fan necessarily, but they need to be here to experience it. I mean, I go back to, I was never a motorcycle guy, but when I came to the first MotoGP, I was hooked, because you have to sense the all sensory experiences that you receive. You've got to be here to see that. You got to feel it. And we have to do a good job at getting the new audience, the younger audience, to come out and enjoy the sport. And by doing that, you have to have, as what we're talking about, the entertainment factors, concerts, food and wine courts, craft beers, a taste of our area that we can get people to come in and to engage with us. That will help grow the sport. And, we keep upgrading the facility. We now have robust Wi-Fi that's for the park. I know that sounds such an easy thing, but we have a 500-acre park and 300 campsites. So we're open every day of the week, and track rentals. So there's a lot of activity going on, but we just need to engage and entertain.
Absolutely. And Paolo, the same question to you. Obviously your activity's been pretty full on these last couple of years during challenging times. So how have you delivered for the fans that have been able to attend?
Yeah, it's a challenge, because in our case, we never stop. We work 320, 330 days per year, a little bit like everyone else. And for the races, we have just a week before the race to get everything ready. And like everyone else, we have the VIP areas, we have to have the catering for the grandstand area. So there is a lot of preparation that you have to do at the same time that you are renting the track to your normal daily clients. So you have to have everything being done at the same time. And having the Wi-Fi upgraded so that you have 100,000 guests or spectators here for the weekend, getting the parking areas prepared. So it's a lot of things that you have to do at the same time as you are renting the track for a car manufacturer event or for a racing team that is hiring the track. That is what we call our bread and butter. So I think this is the main challenge, to get the races well prepared, to get the entertainment for the fans, so that the race is not just a race, that you have other activities outside the racetrack, during the races, after the race, so that everyone doesn't go out the racetrack at the same time, so that the car jams are not so high. So all these small things, all these small details make the package for a good event, for the client's perception, or for not such a good event. regardless sometimes of what is the racing on track. So sometimes a little bit difficult for us because the racing can be good, everything on track can be amazing, the organization, the marshalling, the paddock layout, everything can work 100%. But if you fail to get the beer fresh on the grandstand A, or if you fail to get the Wi-Fi at the level that you need on grandstand B, or the parking, or this or that, the client's perception is not 100%, and that's what you're after. So I think this is the main challenge, to get everything at the top at the same time while you are working on your daily basis at the same time. With small teams, at least I talk on my side, not a big team, we are a private company, so we have to deal with what we have. And it's a challenge. I think this is the biggest challenge for us, racetrack and event venues. And also, I think this is a big challenge. The spectators, the fans nowadays have a bigger expectation than before. They want a better level of service. They want to have better Wi-Fi, better food, better activities, faster. They want more and more and more and faster and better. And they don't want to spend more money than they used to. So you have to provide all that within the same price range. So, and again, I speak for myself, I think this is the biggest challenge that we all face, but that's why we are here. That's why we love this sport. But when everything comes together, I think it's an amazing feeling to have a great event that has gone well. And on track, I think our sport, motorsport, provides what nothing else can provide. That's excitement, it's racing, it's something that no other sport can provide that. And I think we are very lucky for that. And our racetracks are very exciting and provide amazing racing, so that, like we say in Portugal, money can't buy. So this is something that it's really amazing. And we have to do our part, that is doing everything else. And I'm sure that within a couple of years, it'll be easier without the COVID, at least at this level. But nowadays with COVID at the same time, it's a little bit more difficult, but I think everyone is doing the best, and I'm sure that by the end of the year, we'll all be in a better place than we are now.
Absolutely, and it's clearly, as I've mentioned before, been the most challenging time in history. Certainly for the motorsport industry and almost every other industry, it's been enormously difficult. And when you are an industry focused on fans and attendance and engagement, and outside of the obvious digital channels and broadcast, there was no physical interaction there with the fans, which always makes it very challenging. So certainly kudos to you all for doing so well during such a difficult time. I'm going to bring this question back to you, Saif, actually. So this question is going to be looking at what are the revenue drivers for these racetracks and for your racetrack on a year-round basis, considering your weather is favourable. I know it gets very hot in the summer, but generally very favourable. And how do you keep up that constant activity given the conditions that you have?
Yeah, I mean, our tagline at Yas Marina Circuit is always on. We are year round. It's not obviously the Etihad Airways Abu Dhabi Grand Prix is the biggest weekend for us, but we have a venue that hosts over 500 events year round. So in terms of different types of activities and revenue drivers at Yas Marina Circuit, obviously, the number of motorsports events that we have is extremely important. That's, at the end of the day, that's our bread and butter, delivering public events, delivering motorsports events. And at the end of the day, we are a racetrack. But in addition to that, we have a focus on non-motorsports events, and that ranges from health and fitness activities. So we open the track 3 times a week for anyone. It's a community event, anyone to come and run or cycle on the racetrack. We host an annual triathlon, Tri-Yas, on the racetrack and in the marina. So you're able to do all 3 disciplines of the triathlon at the racetrack. We have a diverse retail offering, and that ranges from driving experience on the track, utilizing our existing racing fleet. We're fortunate to have a very exciting racing fleet ranging from Caterham 7s all the way to Aston Martin GT4 race cars, and you can come and drive 15-minute slots or book a half a day that you can get your adrenaline rush. So we have that. We have karting. We have our Yas kart zone, which is also open 7 days a week, year round. Another important pillar for us is corporate events. So that's MICE events. We have around 250 events pre-COVID, year round, and that ranges from automotive launches at the circuit. It ranges to conferences in our Yas Conference Center, which is also used as a media center over the Grand Prix. But also, as we evolve, we also look at utilizing our extremely talented event team to deliver events outside of the circuit. So we're fortunate to have a very seasoned and capable team that can deliver the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and they're also delivering events through our in-house agency solution, Y Solutions. So we're able to provide events throughout Abu Dhabi, throughout the UAE, and even in the region. So we always look at going outside the walls of Yas Marina Circuit to look at alternative areas in which we can utilize our existing resources.
Wonderful. And Barry, to you on the same question. I imagine you have very favourable weather typically throughout the year to generate activities you mentioned. So, tell me how you generate that revenue outside of your major motorsport races and events.
Yeah, fortunately, we do have great weather. We're busy almost 365 days of the year on either track rentals, OEM programs. We also open it up to twilight cycling, so you can bring out once a month your bicycle and ride the track. We do such things as a turkey trot on Thanksgiving Day out here to raise money for the food bank. So we're actively engaged with that. One thing that we do have kind of our thorn in our side is our sound restrictions. We're right next to neighbors, and we have X number of unlimited sound days. We have 90 decibels. The highway can actually be louder. Just Highway 68, our front main entry, can be louder most days of the week than we can be on track. So we have to balance what we do have on track with what our sound restrictions are. We're also seeing that we've become a test bed for Lucid, Tesla, and now Singer to do exhibition laps and to see who can get the fastest EV, electric vehicle, lap times. So Lucid and Tesla kind of go back and forth, and when Lucid sees that Tesla is on track, they book something in the afternoon as well. So there's a little bit of that competition, which is great to see. But really, we are busy. Fortunately, knock on wood, that our track is busy, occupied almost every time. And it does, as Paulo had mentioned, it gets to be a little bit of a circus when you're trying to build a city, essentially, for an event. Because we have tents, we have all the build out going on in structures while we're still entertaining and hosting clients. And it gets to be a little bit tricky at times, but we've been able to do it all these years, and everyone keeps smiling and stays positive and welcoming. So, but it's really our track rentals that are meat and bread and potatoes that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Paulo, mindful of your position in Europe, and really geographically, you're surrounded by so many different OEMs, so many different car manufacturers, within the continent, a very short plane ride or even really a drive away. So how does that sort of impact your activity throughout the year and all the other events?
Well, basically, we stop between the 21st of December until the 6th of January. And apart from that, we are every day booked. We have motorcycle track days, car track days. We have a lot of racing teams testing. Then car manufacturer presentations, star presentations, MICE events that we try to do at the same time that we have the track rented to other companies, because we have a lot of buildings within the racetrack and we can do activities at the same time. So it's just a question of getting the right clients. That is not something that is secret and it can't be mixed with the MICE events. So it's something that we do. And because we have the off-road and the go-kart that is open every day of the year also. And we do activities that, like a carousel, people go around every area, and then in the end of the day, they stop at the racetrack and use our racing school. That also we are fortunate to have from Honda Civic Type R to Racing Super Cup 911. So And this has made a major boost, especially our partnership with AMG Mercedes. And again, we have also the clients that come directly from Mercedes throughout the year and from Yamaha on the bike side. So, but I would say that the manufacturers are our biggest bread and butter source, and then the racing, because we do around 12 races per year, that should be around 60 to 80 days altogether, and the rest of the track queues are rentals, and that's what we do mostly. And then with the go-kart, that also it's a parallel source of revenue. That's also very important. And with our hotel and with the apartments, that it's also managed by us, and we try to do a turnkey process to our clients. And lately, especially the last 2 years, this has had a huge increase from our side with our team. Like Said said, we try to use our staff that we use for the big events to be occupied for the rest of the year, and that has pushed us to do other events like marriages and things like that we never thought we would do. But we have to get people to work, and we have to use all the facilities we have, and that's it. We do whatever it takes. So it's been very exciting, and I'm sure it will be like that. It's not going to be like Barry said.
Absolutely. My next question was very in line with what we've already spoken about, really, but it was talking about innovation away from the track. So we've spoken there about revenue drivers and the general activity that is ran at your facilities that operate almost all of the year. But I'm talking about innovation away from the track itself in terms of how to better engage audiences, even during events. So, you know, whether it is a motorsport event, a concert, a cycling race, all the different things you can run. Are there sort of projects and initiatives to generate, if they're not already existing or even that maybe they're planned, to better engage people that frequent your track for any kind of event? I'll come to you, Saif, on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, Peter. I mean, we talked about the overall event experience and how to make sure that it's not just the race, it's the full experience, and that's really important for us. I guess in terms of innovation, what I would talk about, and Barry touched on this a little bit earlier with EVs. For us, it's really important as a track to constantly adapt to what's happening in the automotive sector. So having the right infrastructure around the circuit for on-track activities that include electric vehicles, but also customers that are coming to your weekend and you know are coming on a electric vehicle and need a place to charge. So for us, that's something that we're looking at developing, and we already have some of the fastest chargers in the UAE at the racetrack. So we're able to have driving experiences on the track with electric vehicles. So we you know, ultimately our goal is to become a platform for these manufacturers to come do research, development, hot weather testing at the racetrack or you know around Abu Dhabi. So it's innovating in that space, and you know we're continuing to invest in developing capabilities and actually creating a platform in which manufacturers can come and base themselves right next to the racetrack, have a facility where they can, you know, work on their vehicles, do some R&D, test them out on the track, and test them out on the road in a safe manner. So we're investing in creating a automotive business park at Yas Marina Circuit on Yas Island, and creating this platform, whether it's EV, whether it's racing teams that want to use, you know, test and tune on the drag strip that we have, or they want to do hot weather testing in the summer to make sure that their vehicles are capable to withstand the heat. It doesn't get much hotter than our summer anywhere, so it's a good platform. So I think these are kind of the areas where we're thinking of innovating and just adapting to the trend and what we're seeing in the automotive space.
Absolutely. Paula, I'm going to come to you on that as well. You know, away from the on-track activity, sort of what innovations would you say create a unique opportunity at your facility?
Well, we have started a startup 2 years ago for innovation in terms of car manufacturers. And actually today our client has a prototype here, one of the major and biggest world car manufacturers, as his best car ever, doing the last test before going into production based on a Formula One car with a star. And it's quite impressive. And we believe that the future depends a lot on circuits, because like Barry was saying, we don't have any noise limitations, so we can run 24/7, 365 days a year, no noise limit, so we can have a Formula One car running here all year long. So that helps us a lot for all the tests that we have for the 24-hour Le Mans and other series. But for sure, in the future, electric cars and hydrogen cars, and especially the synthetic fuel cars, that's also something that we have to look into it. And the tech park, I was listening to Saif, and that's exactly what we are at the moment planning. And we have 2 clients that will start their buildings in our tech park. That is the last part of our project that's still missing. And then finally, we managed to get the right partners to start it, because this is the future. We all related with cars and racetracks, and we all have to look into this. I'm going to shock some, but I'm not the biggest fan in the world of electric cars. I think they have a crucial part in a specific and typical process of transportation, but in some others it doesn't make any sense. So we need to be clever in the way that this is done. I'm a mechanical engineer, a good one, if I don't mind saying so. So we need to be clever. So if you want to do a 1,000-mile travel, you can't use an electric car. So we have to have other means of transportation. And I think this will implicate synthetic fuels and hydrogen fuel cell and other means of transportation, because of a lot of things. But regardless of that, even though we have one of the biggest solar power plants for producing electrical power in Portugal, we have a 5.5 megawatt solar power plant that supplies all our electrical energy. And this has been already for some events a key factor for their decision to use our racetrack as a circuit. Also in terms of use of the waters for our gardening areas, we use all the recycling water. So I think that zero carbon is something that all the circuits must achieve sooner or later, because we'll be under pressure from the car manufacturers, and we need this step in order to be competitive in comparison to other circuits. Regardless of that, the circuits will be the major stage for all the manufacturers to do the development for all the new technologies that will be used in road cars and road bikes. So we will play a major role in this, regardless of us doing the right things or the wrong things. So it's better to do the right things. I think that technology in road cars will evolve dramatically over the next 10 years, but not only in one way. Electrical cars, yes, for a specific use. Synthetic fuels, of course, this is one of the most areas that we can develop and grow worldwide. And then fuel cells with hydrogen, I think, regardless of what we say and what we feel, it's also one of the most important ways forward. And all 3 combined will be the solution to have a better world in terms of pollution. That is all what we need for our children. I think we all have to have this perception, regardless of our love for noise, our love for the smell of a 2-stroke engine and everything else. But in a general way, this is the way forward. And I think we all will play a major role in this very effectively and very crucially.
Absolutely. Not to get dive too far down into the rabbit hole of electrification versus biofuel versus synthetic fuels just yet, but we'll definitely be coming on to the topic of or more onto the topic of sustainability. But Barry, on the same point, how would you sort of feel that Laguna Seca is innovating off and away from track, if you're okay to answer that?
We are working on EV infrastructure right now and should have that up and running in a couple of months. But being in California, where they don't want to sell petrol-based cars pretty soon, all EVs, we have a unique challenge on that. But we're also next to San Jose, the incubator of design and technology. We have had EVs out here testing very privately. We've also had autonomous car testing. So we've had a number of autonomous cars going around the track, mapping it. so they're using the facility as a test bed, and I think that's going to only grow, as I hear here today as well. But California has its restrictions. The governor came out about a year and a half ago saying all petrol-based cars will not be sold in California I think in 10 years. We have a problem with infrastructure, obviously. We have a problem with the power grid. On Sunday of our Rolex reunion event, the power went out for 6 hours. And it wasn't because of a damage. It was because the sensors were overly sensitive based on previous experiences. So it triggered about 6,000 homes and our facility. So we had generators we had to scramble. But it is a kind of a foretelling or foreboding mood of what is to come. And again, automakers are investing heavily in EVs. And like Paulo said, it is the way of the future. I still don't, I'm not a EV race person per se. I like the sound, the smell, and the feel, and the rumble. But it is the way. And I think we have to adapt, and we have to embrace this community that is nearby to us in California to be the serving, the hotbed for this technology, and to do the best that we can, for our community. And like Paulo said, it's not for our generation, it's for future generations. And we need to be on the leading edge of that. And that's why we do work with the San Jose design firms that are all the OEMs have bases there, and to welcome them here and try to get them to come out and share their technology.
Absolutely. And this will lead me nicely onto our next question, actually. So thanks for that, Barry. Saif, I'm going to come to you on this. Looking more externally now, the Middle East markets in general are of course associated with energy production. So what role do you see the region as a whole playing in the future of mobility, the future of racing, and otherwise? What role does it have to play, considering the trajectory we're headed on?
Yeah, I mean, Peter, like you said, the region, and I'll speak about Abu Dhabi specifically. It's been a leader in energy production for the last 60 years, and our leadership has set a vision about 20 years ago that we need to remain leaders in energy after the last barrel of oil is produced. So the last 2 decades have been focused on solar energy, and there's been significant investments in solar energy production, research and development in the climate and the desert and the conditions that we have to make sure that we're able to generate efficiently solar power. And then more recently, the shift towards hydrogen, starting with currently capabilities in blue hydrogen, but also looking at a recent alliance that has been formed to develop green hydrogen capabilities. So it's really important for us in the region to remain ahead of the curve and constantly evolve, because we're not going to be reliant on oil, and we need to move away from that. And as we're hearing from my colleagues Barry and Paulo, it's really important for us to even though we like the smell of the fuel and the sound and that experience, we need to accept the reality that things are going to change. We have to adapt to that change. We have to think of the next generation, like my colleague said, and we need to be able to create this platform and ecosystem. Like I talked about before, we with EV, but also looking at hydrogen, also having an ecosystem and a platform for anyone to come and develop clean internal combustion engines in the region is something that we feel very strongly about, and we're investing in creating that platform at Yas Marina Circuit.
Wonderful. And Barry, California as a state is also energy producing, and I guess I want to come or get some US perspective coming from you as to how do you see the future of mobility, with this onset of electrification, hybrid, sustainable fuels. You've got that perspective where you're in, as you've mentioned, you're in California, where it's a technology hub. Tesla are there. You've got this creative part of the country, yet so much of it is still very much internal combustion and doesn't necessarily seem to be changing very quickly. So what is your vision of that future of mobility in the United States?
I mean, it is definitely coming. There's no question about that. You can't stop the train. But, we also have to remember cars, automakers, they're so much more fuel efficient and cleaner than they were, let's say, 5 years ago even. And, I don't know what the future of when you hear that some car companies are going to go all electric. I mean, I was on the Mitsubishi IMEV planning project when I was with Mitsubishi. So I was part of that EV infrastructure building, and there's still, I think, a lot of work to do. There's still the batteries and things of that sort. But, when I looked down at San Diego numbers, Tesla is the #1 selling automobile in San Diego market, and which is kind of a telling. I mean, and if an EV is working, it would work for my purposes as well. My commute. We're a small community. So I think we have to be prepared, and I don't want the combustion engine to go away. I don't think it will anytime soon. But California is trying to be, is typically the leader in the United States to put restrictions on and mandates. And obviously, it's a political battle, depending on who's the president of the United States as well, whether they ease it or become more strict. So it's really it's hard to guess where it's going to really go here. But with Audi and Volkswagen going electric heavily, building the infrastructure, I remember the days when there was a gas station on every corner. You'd pull up to a stoplight and you could pick between out of the four. Those days are gone, and so it's a slow movement. I don't think it's going to be an overnight thing at all, because we've been talking about it for quite some time. But it's in our future, and how we embrace it and how we engage with it and how we adapt our business models to be able to accommodate that. That's the big question downstream.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to come to audience questions now, and I'm going to bring you in, Paolo, because you have already, to some degree, partly answered this in relation to some of the innovations you're creating, but I'll try and bring the question up on screen there. So with pressure on the motorsport industry as a whole to become more sustainable, how have you integrated sustainability into your operations and venues? So Paolo, I know you did mention a bit about the solar power and a few other areas, but how sort of integrated are you as a sustainable business model really moving forward, and trying to some degree maybe even set some of the trends in Europe for others to follow?
Well, like I said, all the electrical power we use, it's produced by solar systems. So I think we are in Europe at least one of the references for that. Also, in terms of waters for the gardening, for all the green areas that we have, we use recycled water. So I think that also for the heating of the waters, for the toilets and everything, we used solar systems. So I think in terms of innovation, we are quite developed in that sense. We are now also establishing a partnership with a company that we will plant around 10,000 trees in order to reduce the CO2 in the atmosphere, because they are eucalyptus, that is a specific tree that captures the monoxide carbon. So I think on that side we have the project, we have the planning, and we are working on that. In terms of the future, I think we have to play by the rhythm that the manufacturers will oblige us. There is not much we can do, because the manufacturers will be the spearhead of what is the development for the next decades. I don't think that at the moment they are all obeying what the legislation in Europe specifically is imposing. I think that the United States is much further away in terms of electric cars than us in Europe. At least in Portugal, still the sales of electric cars are very, very low, not even 12%, I think. So it's not still a very impact in the market. Also in Europe, it's growing, but in absolute numbers, not a big number yet. But obviously this will change dramatically over the next 5 years. So we have to be prepared. But again, I think that we just have to dance by their music. It's not our role to decide which way to go. We just have to adapt, I think. I'm very keen in terms of having fuels that are clean for combustion engines. I think this is very important, because there are places in the world that there is no way that you can bring electric supply systems. So it's physically impossible. Also, in terms of the grid in the cities, it's impossible in less than 10 or 15 years to change all the grid system in a city to supply all the houses. If every house has an electric car, at least in Portugal, it's impossible for the next 10 years for everyone to be able to charge their cars at night. So this also implicates a change in the way that the cities are designed. So all this has to be gradual and step by step, but definitely this will be the way forward, sooner or later. And again, I repeat, we just have to adapt and never to be left behind. I think we have to be always on the move and trying to understand where the technologies will lead us. But I think that electrical cars will not be the sole innovation that will be for the next year. I think that there'll be other steps forward, especially in terms of combustion engines and hydrogen. I think hydrogen is still something that has a lot to evolve, and there's a huge potential that there are some problems technically that need to be solved. But if those problems are solved, I think it's the best way, in absolute terms, for us, for car manufacturers, in all terms, in pollution, in power, in resources, in every way.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. And Saif, I'm going to come to you on that. There's increasing pressures from all areas of the world, but certainly on the motorsport industry in general. A lot of topic of discussion is how to become more sustainable in everything that we do, not just in our business lives, but in our personal lives. So what is the track currently doing? What is the facility currently doing, and the company, and what do you potentially plan to do moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the the EV infrastructure that we've recently installed, and we're gonna roll out more throughout the next 12 months. So that's something that already exists. Obviously, with solar, we've had some solar power since the track was initially built. The iconic tower of Yas Marina Circuit that is at the end of the main straight is called Shams Tower, which means sun in Arabic, tower, and is powered by solar. Obviously, we're looking now at increasing our reliance on solar throughout the venue. In terms of other quick wins, we have a sustainability strategy as a company. We look at every single event that we host in the circuit, and how can we reduce the impact of those events. So we with all of our suppliers, we ask that they have a sustainability component in all of our agreements with them. Things like food and beverage offerings, make sure that they are not using single-use plastic and things like that. So overall, we're constantly looking at improving our sustainability as a venue, and I mean, obviously looking at other sources of clean energy going forward to be able to offer people on the track.
Wonderful. And then Barry, to you on that point, sort of any sustainable initiatives that are or sustainability initiatives sort of taking place at the facility?
Well, as we mentioned, about the EV infrastructure that's being put in place, but we're an old facility, and we still have some old buildings running around that we have to take care of. But Monterey County is a very green, very sustainable element of what we do as well, part of it. And we're looking at the straws, as you mentioned, Saif, the catering, to ensure that they don't have the single-use plastics and things of that sort, the best that we can do. And we're also looking at solar as well, seeing what possibilities are out there that we could tap into that as moving forward. It's not a quick process, but something that we're certainly looking forward to.
Absolutely. I'll ask one final question from the audience before I sort of round things off with my final question. The question is from Georgina, who also works for BlackBook Motorsport, incidentally. Her question is, how do you attract non-motorsport fans to your venues? So that's quite an interesting one. So Paolo, I'll come to you on that. How would you attract those non-motorsport fans to come along and watch some of the excellent racing activity that you do have? Is there much of a plan there?
Well, basically, like I say, you have to have you have to give them no excuses not to go to the racetrack. Basically, you have to have giant screens on the racetrack. You have to have good Wi-Fi. You have to have good and clean toilets. You have to have good catering facilities. So, going to the racetrack must be a pleasure, there can be no problems whatsoever for a woman or someone that is not a motorsport fan, because for them everything will be an excuse never to come back. Apart from that, I think it depends a lot on the product, because it's fairly easy to bring a fan to a Formula One race or MotoGP race. But apart from that, as you go down the ladder, a WEC, Superbike, LMS, and down, it becomes harder and harder, regardless of the level of those. Because sometimes racing is better in terms of competitiveness in those smaller series, let's say like that. But there are no heroes. It's not well known. So MotoGP and Formula One are the easiest ones, and now I can say that, so you don't have to make a lot of effort to sell the tickets. To be very honest, it's much harder when you go to the WEC or to Superbikes or to those other series. But I don't think there is. I mean, this is a hardcore fan. You need to appeal to those fans, and only after you've gained the respect and you've gained all those fans, then you can worry about the others. Because if you're not a fan, to be very honest, I think sometimes it's very hard, and you can make a lot of effort, but there's nothing you can do. But again, I'll say, if you're not a motorsport fan, but if you watch a Formula One race or a MotoGP race, you will become a fan, because the raw speed of the cars or the bikes, the show that they put on, it's unbelievable. Even the colors and the sound and everything, it's unbelievable. So as long as you'll be there for the first time, I'm sure that you become a fan. The problem is making sure that you go there at least once. I think that's the big challenge. But I don't think there's any magical way to do it. It's just making sure that someone takes you there and appeals you to go there, or for whatever reason. And from that point on, it's up to us to make a great show and to have a great facility and a great venue, so that everything is perfect and up to their expectations.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer, and Saif, I'll come to you on that. I'm aware I'm sort of throwing a difficult one at everyone there, but for those, let's say for maybe the tourists that are visiting and realise such a plethora of events go on at your facility, and getting them there, is there sort of a plan? I can imagine it's a big challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think from our perspective, there's two things that we do to get everybody to come and enjoy motorsports. First of all, it's to offer them a lot more than the race and the event. It's again goes back to having a diverse offering that includes off-track entertainment. It's getting them in the door. Like Paolo said, once they're there and they get to experience it, they'll be hooked and they'll become motorsports fans. So it's getting them there, offering them more entertainment around the event. And I'd say the second thing is investing in grassroots motorsports. There's many examples of countries that have a national hero that everybody falls behind and supports, whether they are motorsports fans or not. I mean, you have likes of Fernando Alonso. Now you have Max Verstappen. Paulo mentioned the Portuguese MotoGP driver also. That really creates an audience, some of which are not motorsports fans. So it's investing in those young potential drivers with the aim of hopefully getting them in the top tiers of motorsports and for people to support them.
Yeah, absolutely. The racing heroes. And to you, Barry, sort of the final question I'll pose to you before we disappear. It'd be good to hear your take on trying to get more people through the turnstiles, so to speak.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we do and that we're striving for even more is we need to go to market. We need to bring the show to the market itself. The people who aren't going to be normally coming. For World Superbike and Moto America, we had motorcycles going across the Golden Gate Bridge, going through the streets of San Francisco. We took race cars to downtown Monterey recently, but to use our series, we have an IndyCar right now. If you go to the San Jose airport, there's an IndyCar sitting out there to promote our event in 3 weeks. So we need to engage people who are not here as well. We need to bring the show to entertain them and kind of get them engaged a little bit to see, oh, what is this race car? Talk to the race car driver perhaps too. So we need to go to market. And then we need to deliver on the promise. We need to have everything that we've talked about today. We need to be, the robust Wi-Fi. We need the food and the wine. We need all the elements to support the races, because we all have the race fans coming for the races itself. To grow, we need to go to market, bring in new people, and then deliver on that promise that, you're going to be hooked. As we've all said, once you've seen it, smelled it, heard it, it gets into your blood, and you can't shake it.
Agreed. There's nothing like it. I think that's why we're all big motorsport fans, and I think that's a really good point to end it on there. And apologies, I do have more questions lined up. There's plenty more questions that the audience have posed to you guys, but unfortunately we have run out of time. So I just want to say thank you to yourself, Barry, Saif, Paolo, for joining us today. Really good insight into what creates a great racetrack, how you're innovating, to some degree, for us to look and see what the future holds as well. So I wish you all the very best for the remainder of the 2021 season, and please don't be a stranger. So thank you so much for joining us. And I will look actually whilst we're still here before we go at the poll, and you can see that Laguna Seca very much came out on top with 50%, and then followed by Portimao and Yas Marina. So quite pretty clear victory there for the California track. Now, anybody that is still with us, obviously there's a reminder to keep signing up to our events. We'll share them in the coming months. The next one coming up in late September will be based on esports, and we do have some good names attached to that one, so please stay tuned, and please do get in touch if you do feel like you'd like to discuss becoming a member and all the benefits that comes with. But thank you all for tuning in with us today. I'll once again wave those checkered flags, and I will see you all next month. So take care. See you soon.